It's hard enough being a goalkeeper for a top team in a top league. It's even harder when you're making so many mistakes, it's almost meme-worthy. From a goalkeeping disaster class to fights off the field, these are the 10 worst goalkeeper mistakes that ruined their careers. And at number 1, it's a Manchester United legend for all the wrong reasons. There's no way we'd be doing this without mentioning the GOAT of goalie errors. Andre Onana. A legend, as long as you don't support Manchester United. Ever since he came to the club in 2023, it's been mistake after mistake, man. Onana, with Manchester United, 102 appearances, 24 clean sheets, 150 goals conceded. But it gets worse. For context, the man Onana came to replace at Manchester United made 17 errors leading to a goal from the opposition in 12 years. Onana made 10 in 18 months. Then you look at some of the errors and it almost feels like he's playing against his team. This one against Brighton still looks suspect. That wasn't a save, that was an assist. Or Hakim Ziyech's free kick. He parried it into his own net. Onana's time at Manchester United was one big joke, and it got even worse after he reportedly asked for a contract extension and refused to lower his salary on the back of that. That was crazy work. He's now on loan at Trabzonspor, the end of an era. The crazy thing with Onana and the Manchester United fans is how they keep regretting why they left the former goalie before Onana leave, when just a couple of years ago, some fans never wanted him to stay, De Gea. It almost feels criminal having him on the list. But the truth is, David De Gea's here, not because of mistakes that were necessarily his fault, but simply because his manager asked him to do something he unfortunately wasn't comfortable with. As good as De Gea is at saving goals, he's not the same playing with his feet. The then Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag wanted a ball-playing goalie, and every time he tried to use the system with De Gea in goal, Ten Hag wasn't satisfied. Even with De Gea winning the Golden Glove Award for the most clean sheets in the 2022/23 season, that inability to play out from the back, the way Ten Hag wanted, ultimately made that season his last in the Premier League with United. It's unfortunately become a trend now for the modern-day goalkeeper to play out from the back. The guys that don't get exposed for it in new systems, guys like David De Gea or Arsenal's former number 1. Aaron Ramsdale. Before David Raya, Ramsdale was the next big goalkeeping star at Arsenal. I mean, it made sense too, because when it came to keeping shots out, Ramsdale was one of the best in the country. This free kick save from James Maddison is still right up there with the very best. But just like De Gea, Ramsdale had a problem with playing from the back. He wasn't comfortable in possession of the ball at his feet. Mikel Arteta's system needed a goalkeeper who could start attacks with the ball. It's not that Ramsdale didn't try, but more often than not, they ended up looking like this. Just like De Gea, it almost feels harsh calling Ramsdale unable to play from the back, but Arteta wanted more. In the end, Arteta decided to get rid of Ramsdale and opt for David Raya, and it's a decision that in the end worked for the club. Ramsdale? He joined Southampton at the start of the 2024/25 season, got relegated and is now second choice at Newcastle. A shame, man. You get the feeling that deep down, a section of some Arsenal fans would have wanted to see Ramsdale succeed at the club, if not for those costly mistakes. It's not the same feeling at Barca, though. It's mostly just hate towards a former hero turned bad guy goalie, Marc-Andre ter Stegen. Now with him, it's all depending on the angle you choose to look at things from. On one hand, he was one of Barcelona's few consistent performers before 2020. But on the other hand, since that period he hasn't been the same. Big mistakes in big games. Throw it back to Monaco at the start of last season's Champions League. He had a disaster class in France. It was his pass that led to Eric Garcia committing the foul and getting sent off. He had suspect-looking goalkeeping. Then you add the stuff he was doing off the pitch, from reportedly refusing to take a salary cut after the club had financial issues, to reports of Ter Stegen forcing his return from injury just to prove a point to the club. Barca had to act, and in the summer they did. They got Joan Garcia as the new number one, and he's been more than decent since his debut at the club. It's honestly clear now that even when Ter Stegen returns from his injury, he'll have to be back up to Joan Garcia and might eventually have to leave. Not because he's not good, but it's got to do more with his attitude than anything else. He won't be the first goalie to make a mistake like this, though. Over to Liverpool now, when a former goalie spoke out years back. That mistake turned into his last appearance for the club. Pepe Reina used to be Liverpool's solid number one. He'd been at the club for 8 seasons coming into 2013, but that summer, Reina made a huge mistake. See, at the end of the campaign, Reina's position as the number one at the club wasn't certain anymore, but he was still the main choice, until Reina got the news that Liverpool had reportedly agreed a deal with Napoli to loan him to Naples that season, and Reina lost it. He published an open letter to the fans and called out the club. When manager Brendan Rodgers heard about it, he responded by saying Reina had already made his feelings clear, and that was going to be it. Turns out it actually was it. It was initially a loan deal for Reina, but in the following season, Liverpool made the move permanent, and it was done for Reina. His mistake? He spoke out, called out the club. There was no way they could take him back after that. Honestly, calling out management as a goalie is really risky business, especially when it's a position that can easily be replaced. Reina found out the hard way, despite giving 8 years of his career to Liverpool, and it still wasn't as bad as what St. Iker had to deal with because of a crazy mistake. Iker Casillas. Coming into the 2012/13 season, Iker Casillas had been at Real Madrid for 13 seasons, made his debut at the club from the academy, and only ever played for Real Madrid. But in the space of weeks, his future was in serious doubt. So what really happened? I'll tell you soon, but first, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button to Mr. Football down below. Well, the main report is Iker Casillas tried to do what he'd always done, be a saint, and repair the tension between the Spanish players in both the Real Madrid and Barcelona teams. For context, this was at a time when El Clasico was peak and almost always heated. When Jose Mourinho found out what Casillas wanted to do, he wasn't happy about it. To be fair to Casillas, he was captain of the national team. He was going to see both sets of Spanish players on each team at least 4 times on international breaks, but Mourinho didn't understand, and like that, the ticking time bomb exploded. Mourinho first dropped Casillas for Antonio Adán. In January of the same year, he brought in a 35-year-old Diego Lopez to replace Casillas, but in everything, Casillas never spoke out. You know it was bad when Andres Iniesta, a Barcelona player, was the one calling out Mourinho for how he treated Casillas. In the end, Mourinho left, but he'd done something to St. Iker's legacy, stopped him from being a peacemaker. Back to the actual mistakes on the pitch now, and at Manchester City. It's been a crazy summer involving one hectic goalkeeper domino. You've got to feel for James Trafford. This summer was supposed to be the big one in his career. After 7 years at Manchester City, former first-choice goalie Ederson decided to leave. Pep Guardiola needed a new goalkeeper. They'd already signed James Trafford from Burnley for £27 million. And after starting the first 2 games of the season, Trafford looked like he'd have the number 1 spot in the bag. He used to be a City player before getting sold to Burnley. All of this was full circle for him, but in his next 90 minutes as a City goalie, his world came crashing down. Those mistakes against Spurs were huge. Pep acted fast in the window. They bought Gianluigi Donnarumma from PSG, and he's been the first choice ever since. It doesn't look like changing anytime soon, meaning Trafford has got to stick with being second choice at City. But what's even crazier is how Donnarumma came to City in the first place. It was off the back of not fitting the system too. It sounds almost hard to believe, but it's the truth. Despite winning the quadruple with PSG, last season head coach Luis Enrique wasn't entirely convinced with Donnarumma. Don't get it wrong, he was an incredible shot stopper, but he wasn't exactly the best with his feet. He was incredible in the Champions League, but if you watched him in League One, he was letting in way too many cheap goals. Add this to Donnarumma demanding a higher wage after talks about a new contract. And just like that, PSG's starting goalie was on the market. The club didn't care that he won them the Champions League. He was gone. Donnarumma falls into the category of goalies on this list, who unfortunately didn't have the feet to do the talking at big clubs. But luckily for him, he still had a happy ending joining Manchester City. For a former Barcelona legend who joined the other side of Manchester, it was anything but. Victor Valdés was part of a Barcelona team that revolutionized European football from 2008 to 2014. After the 2013/14 season, though, Valdés decided he wanted a new adventure. So he joined Manchester United, but his time at Old Trafford was one big disaster. You know it's bad when the manager is coming out to say a player doesn't follow his philosophy.
He's not selected because he don't follow my or our philosophy. Then there is no place for not one player. For example, he refused last year to play in the second team.
Valdés only played 2 games for United's senior team. He played for the under-21s, and after a loan spell with Middlesbrough, where this happened, Valdés decided to call it quits on his career aged 35. That's relatively young for a goalie, but I'll tell you one guy who at 27 looks like he should wrap it up now: Robert Sanchez. Tempted to say it's confusing trying to analyse his time at Chelsea, but it isn't. The answers are actually there. In fact, the truth is, the reason Sanchez didn't get talked about as much was that Onana existed in the same league and took most of it in. He's gone now, though, and it's Sanchez's league. He's making sure to keep his status as the worst top goalie in the division. From needless tackles to letting howlers in, Robert Sanchez has always been different for Chelsea. All those crazy signings they've made, and they still don't have a proper goalie. Insane. If you think these guys are bad, wait till you see the actual saves legendary goalies have had to make over the years. From a Courtois double save to Jerzy Dudek shocking the world, click the next video to find out the most legendary goalkeeper saves in football.